H11, and we'll open the public hearing on 11A and B. And Mr. Golkowski, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a transmittal public hearing for Amendment 2021-2A41. Here the applicant is Jason Searle on behalf of Bent Tree Holdings. The proposal here is to go from planned development, office, commercial, institutional, industrial, conservation to planned development, commercial, office, high-density residential, parks and recreation, open space, conservation. It's a multiple-use project. It involves almost 66 acres, with 36 of those being developable. And it has two parts to it. The property straddles Lake Underhill Road, with the northern portion proposed for up to 1,500 multifamily dwelling units, 100,000 square feet of commercial and office space, which would contain perhaps up to 25,000 square feet of a private school, other community recreational amenities and gathering areas, and 29 acres of conservation land. The southern portion of the property would be used for stormwater and retention and other drainage components. Accompanying this is an amendment 2021-2B Flu 1, which would amend policy Flu 814 to record the development program. This is the review schedule. We had a virtual community meeting on this on May 21st. The LPA heard it for transmittal this past September 16th, and of course here we are today on October 12th. We anticipate a second community meeting to be held if this is transmitted, hopefully an in-person meeting. But during the transmittal period, we'll be receiving state and regional agency comments and expect to bring this back to the LPA on December 16th and to this board on January 11th. It's located in District 4. Again, it straddles Lake Underhill Road, just east of Dean Road, and let's say west of the Lockheed Martin site and the Legacy Middle School campus. The shaded area shown on the screen is the entire PD for Fieldstream. The area that we're looking at right now is outlined by the dotted line. To look a little closer at the property, you can see that adjacent uses include single-family detached residential. The property itself has a past use of being a landfill, public landfill, that involved pretty much the entire area that is shown as cleared pasture on the site, and it actually extended underneath what is now Lake Underhill Road, and into other areas as well, but we're focused on the areas within the yellow line today. This is the future land use as I described it: PD, office, commercial, institutional, industrial, and conservation. And the proposed is to make it commercial office HDR at 50 units per acre, parks and recreation, open space, and conservation on both parcels shown. This is the existing zoning for the property, and there will be no change to that. Just like to review for you some of the history of the property. Beginning in March of 1964, the site was operated under a use agreement with the landowner by the county as what was referred to as a sanitary landfill. I'm sure you can imagine that the regulations and operating standards for landfills at that point were different than they are today. But it was used to receive general refuse from 1964 to 1972. And then later, the northwest portion of the area was used for construction and demolition debris until 1980, when the landfill was closed and capped with a soil layer, although all the buried waste remains on site today. Following that, an agreement was reached with Orange County to donate right-of-way and drainage easements for the extension of Lake Underhill Road, which was subsequently constructed over the buried waste. The county has been monitoring groundwater conditions on the property since 1983 with 31 monitoring wells being sampled annually, and you can see some of the contaminants that are being especially watched for that have been recorded on the property. The site's present non-residential future land use map designations, such as an institutional, industrial, office, do not allow for residential development, and county staff would not support residential development on the property in its current condition. So this is a summary of the proposal to excavate and properly dispose of all buried waste on the premises, including that portion of it under Lake Underhill Road, and remediate the site, bringing in clean fill and doing other measures in accordance with an excavation and disposal plan that the state reviews. And they will partner with Orange County to continue monitoring the groundwater quality to monitor the success of this effort. Lake Underhill Road will be redesigned and reconstructed between Dean Road and Rouse Road by the applicant. That would include widening from 2 to 4 lanes, lowering the road profile in the vicinity of the site because it was put over unstable material, and additional layers of fill had to be placed there in order to get a stable road base for the road. By removing that, the height of the road could actually be lowered somewhat. New sidewalks will be installed, and there's a proposal to install 2 roundabouts within Lake Underhill at Fieldstream West Boulevard and at the Fieldstream North Boulevard intersection. There's a current developers agreement dealing with the Cloyd's landfill property, and will be converted to be called the Fieldstream Village property, and conditions updated to reflect changes in the use of the property. Some impacts to isolated Class 3 wetlands are proposed. The PD land use plan will be amended for the development program with various standards as are typical for this, and construct up to 1,500 multifamily units on site and 100,000 square feet of non-residential uses, including up to 25,000 square feet for a private school. And to help pay for the cost of doing all this work, the applicant's proposing to create a tax increment financing district to direct increased taxes from the development back to that district to cover the remediation and other improvements. Some of the things that staff has been finding so far, again, this is a transmittal stage right now, that the project does have the potential to yield significant public benefits in terms of cleaning up a former landfill site and making improvements to Lake Underhill Road from Rouse Road to Dean Road. The mix of uses on the property will be planned as a town center according to the applicant's initial proposals, and you may hear more about that in a few minutes, rather than as a highway-oriented commercial type of use. The uses will be brought internal to the site, so it's not stripped along the highway. This change could be seen as more compatible with neighboring residential development than what could be built there now, whether it was office park or industrial type uses on the property, which it currently has a future land use designation for. But access to the property is solely from Lake Underhill Road. We're usually not crazy about mid-block locations for development of commercial nature. And we don't completely understand the traffic impacts of the property yet, but that will continue to be under review. This is a complex proposal. It has issues that could benefit input from state review and from the additional time that a transmittal would bring. A decision to transmit it would also give staff some direction to continue to work on these review issues and spend the time on them. But this should not suggest that they will be successfully resolved or ultimately supported, but we'll continue to explore them. And if transmitted, there'll be a number of benchmarks to advance through during the review process. There are agreements to be reached and permits to be obtained and other information and studies to be developed. And all of these items, the future land use amendment, the amendment of policy 814, the developer's agreement, the wetland impact permit, and other items, all should be considered concurrently at the time of the BCC's adoption hearing. After that, there's probably a brownfield designation for the site that'll be requested, but that'll be a later event. So with that, staff and the LPA recommend that the two amendments shown on the screen be transmitted to find that the application is sufficiently complete to be circulated for review. So the requested action is to transmit Amendment 2021 2A41 and Amendment 2021 2B Flu 1. And that completes my presentation, Mayor. I believe the applicant's present.
All right, thank you. I'll invite the applicant to come forward and offer any comments at this time.
Good afternoon, Mayor Demings and Orange County Commissioners. My name is David Brim, and I'm the COO of MMI Development. So what MMI is going to do is we're going to transform an Orange County trash site into the next generation's treasure site. We're taking a former landfill that's currently unusable with no tax revenue and a road that's failing to serve the growth of the area, and we're converting it into a mixed-use development with retail, workforce housing, a very walkable community that will generate an estimated $2.3 million in county tax revenue once the cleanup is complete. We're also cleaning up the dump and widening Lake Underhill Road. I do want to add that we also approve of the staff recommendation for transmittal, so thank you. Now, how do we get there? Before we really, to consider this plan, you have to realize that these three parts are inextricably linked. You can't consider building the development without first improving the road, and you can't improve the road without cleaning up the existing dump. And so what we're going to talk about today is the Orange County dump, Lake Underhill Road and the improvements we'll be making, and the Fieldstream Village development. So I'd like to invite Mike Wright, the president of MMI Development, up to talk about these three parts. Thank you.
My name is Mike Wright, president of MMI Development. I live at 1600 Pine Bluff, Orlando, Florida. 5 of the commissioners here have seen this slideshow probably more than once, so I'll try to reduce it down and we'll reserve what our time is. I don't want to put y'all through the whole 30 minutes again. So with that, we'll talk a little bit about the dump, the road, and then the project, and we'll stand down to answer any questions. So let's just cover briefly the dump. So as Mr. Golgowski pointed out, in 1964, the Cloyds signed an agreement allowing Orange County to use their dairy farm as a landfill for disposal of household trash collected throughout Orange County. So you can see the dump in 1970 on the north and south side of the future location of Lake Underhill Road. So jumping forward to 1994, you have Lake Underhill Road is now in place. It's bisecting the dump with no development around it. So cycling forward till today, you now have substantial development. You have basically 6 neighborhoods adjoining and abutting the site. It's my understanding, I may be not perfectly correct on this, that none of those residents at the time knew that the dump was here. They didn't sign any waivers or acknowledgement or acceptance of it. Contrasting that, when I bought a house in Baldwin Park, I had to sign a substantial number of documents and waivers and things of those natures concerning the landfill that was there. So currently, as Greg pointed out, the Orange County installed, I believe in the 1980s, a fairly extensive set of monitoring wells throughout the neighborhoods. and I think there's one or two possibly on the site, but primarily they're in the neighborhoods. So let's talk about what MMI is going to suggest that we do. We'd like to get this designated as a brownfield. We have prepared a cleanup plan, submitted that to FDEP, a state agency. They've approved that cleanup plan, and our plan basically is to remove the trash and then transport it off-site to a licensed and lined landfill. Now, how would we pay for that? So the current circumstances are that we would try to establish, or would like to establish, a tax increment financing district, which I have some experience with here in Orange County and one of the local cities. We'll talk about that just briefly. So right now you have a site that pays virtually no taxes. It's got probably a $20 million plus cleanup price tag. Orange County currently has no plan or reserve set aside to clean up that dump, and you'll see later, either today or in future presentations, if we get past today, that dump and those contaminants have prevented the improvements to Lake Underhill Road. This special tax district is going to be established just on our property, not on any of the other neighborhoods' property, but on our property alone. And what that allows us to do is use the incremental tax increases as we develop in phases over 10 or 15 years to use those tax revenues to retire the debt that we'll borrow to clean up the dump. So let's talk just briefly about the road. So the county road plan that they have now is somewhat similar to a plan in the past, but the plan in general that the county has had over the years has been in 3 5-year capital improvement plans, but in my discussions with some of the staff members, the ones that are not here, but some other departments, they've been hesitant to implement these improvement plans due to the contaminants that are lying underneath the road and the unstable nature of the soil. That plan, as Mr. Golgowski pointed out, or actually the counter to that plan, he really talked about our plan, but I'm going to talk about the county's plan, is to raise that road up almost 3 feet, and that plan currently has no traffic control devices. So what does it mean when they raise the road up? So this is a perspective of a exit right now from Fieldstream North, I believe, and estates of Fieldstream. So it's already an incline. They're going to increase that incline by up to 30 to 36 inches potentially. That's going to be subject to drainage calculations. The plan also has no traffic control devices. So our plan is to remove the waste material, replace it with clean field, and then build the road back correctly. And when I say correctly, I'm really talking about lowering the grade down so you have an easy exit out of the neighborhoods instead of sitting on a hill, riding your brakes, trying to figure out how to get out. So here's Lake Underhill today. This is my vision of where I'd like to see it in the future. We've shared these images with probably about 5 or 6 different homeowner meetings we've had with the various neighborhoods, in addition to the community meeting. Well, how do we want to pay for that plan? We've been working with staff, Mr. Testerman in particular. I don't want to speak for Mr. Testerman, but basically we're going to use a combination of impact fee fund resources, and also we're going to contribute up to $10 million to the cost of rebuilding the road through recovery of transportation impact fees from our project, which would not otherwise be available because the land is currently undevelopable. So the project that we're seeking for transmittal, I'm not going to go into all the details that Mr. Golgowski went into, but I just wanted to give you, this is we feel like the existing industrial zoning is incompatible. We have laid out a master plan which includes multifamily residential and a commercial downtown main section. So an artist rendering of that kind of show you what the downtown section would look like. We're going to have broad green spaces going down through the middle of the village. And then we go here. One of the other things that we've recently included, we had another interaction with some more homeowners this over the weekend. They asked us to look at trying to meet some national green building standards. I told them that we didn't have time to look at it but it's certainly something that I personally would like to try to achieve. So we're going to try to design this project in order to hopefully get awarded one of these 4 certifications. So these are some tenants that are currently expressing desire to go in there. We have other ones that also are expressing desire. We just haven't gotten so far along so far as terms of along of our negotiations. Obviously, those tenants can't go in there if we don't get transmitted and then ultimately approved. So why is the project so large? So this is an important question. We have to create a large enough tax base so that that base can be taxed at current millage rates to retire the debt. We've underwrote the cost of this based on engineering reports we have in place, and we think we can do this and retire that debt in 20 to 30 years. So far, we haven't received any material pushback on the size of this project. Not to say there's not some people here today that have showed up that will oppose us, but certainly happy to listen to what they've got to say. So we've also pledged to make sure we have set aside of units in there for some of these listed professions and entry-level employees that may not could normally afford to go into this project. So to connect the dots, and I'll get through this pretty quick, hopefully we can get a transmittal today, and we appreciate it if we can get that, and we can move it through the process. The next item will be to clean up the dump. The third item that we have to do is improve a Lake Underhill road. And then the last item will be to build Fieldstream Village to create the tax base so we can retire the debt, to clean up the dump, and improve Lake Underhill Road. So who is MMI and why do we think we can do this? I've done a similar project in the city of Apopka in connection with a private-public partnership with the city of Apopka and the Central Florida Expressway. We built the interchange that you see up there right now. I advanced all the money to build that, and then through the TIF that we set up, we were able to retire that debt, and that debt was less than our original budget, and we finished that project on time and under budget. So with that, I just want to state that we agree with the staff's recommendation, and we would ask that this commission grant us the transmittal. Thank you all very much for your time.
All right, thank you for sharing the information. At this time, I'm going to open it up for any public comment. Are there any members of the public present who wish to be heard?
Yes, Mayor, we have 4 speaker cards on this item. First speaker will be Jose Marcano. Jose Marcano. Mr. Marcano is getting an extra minute from Maria Velez. Maria Velez, are you here?
Yes, my name is Jose Marcano. I'm going to read this. And I'm a resident of the Heritage Oak community. This is on Lake Underhill. Across from us is Deanwood. I find myself with no choice but to appear at this body of government because the stakes are very high for the 2 communities. We are going to be right in the middle of the busy intersection of Dean Road and Lake Underhill to the west and the proposed Fieldstream Village apartment complex to the east. This is about a distance of 1 block from each one. We must estimate that the projected apartment complex of 1,500 family units will have 2 vehicles per household. That is 3,000 of them, not counting the visitor, the STEM school, the service vehicle, and the other businesses to be located. We could be having about 4,000 vehicles just a block away from us. Because of this fact, we are hereby having a petition opposing these projects unless a traffic light and decelerate lane are installed for us. We have so far 103 homeowners in this petition and counting. As of right now, it is very difficult to make a left turn from either community, especially in the morning and afternoon rush hour. We are frequently having traffic accidents exiting our 2 communities. During the rush hour, the traffic lanes extend from Dean Road, passes our community, and often goes past West Fieldstream Boulevard, where this project is to be located. We are going to be in the most negatively affected by this project with respect to the traffic. A recent study mentioned by the developer states that there will be an increase of 30,000 vehicles in this area by the year 2033. This is said at the September 16 meeting here. These two communities will be in a extremely dangerous situation, and all the more the need for a traffic light for us. Not too long ago, the building code were changed in Tallahassee at the wishes of the Florida developers in order for them to be able to establish business within the communities. This project is as good example of any of the new building code. It would only be fair to change the traffic code to protect the communities affected by this project. That's my statement.
Thank you, Mr. Marcano. We'll move to the next speaker, please.
Next speaker will be Victor Haddock. Victor Haddock. Waving, it's time to speak. Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next speaker, Joe Kilschreiner. And I'll just note for the record that he has indicated, he's checked the box on the card that he's received compensation.
All right.
And please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Kilsheimer. I am a member of the MMI team. My address is 2377 Home Again Road in Apopka. I think that most of you know that I once served as mayor of the city of Apopka. And I know that as you serve on the dais, that your number one priority is the public interest. What are you doing to serve the people who sent you here? And in this case, we have two great matters of public interest: Lake Underhill Road and, of course, the old Cloyd's Dairy landfill. And I think that we can all agree that Lake Underhill Road is overwhelmed, and it struggles to serve the public interest, especially during peak traffic times. And then there's the matter of the landfill, which is currently releasing contaminants into the environment. Ordinarily, all of this would fall on the county's shoulders to fix. And it would take, of course, millions of tax dollars to remediate the landfill. And the county's current plan, the county does have a plan to address Lake Underhill Road, but the county's current plan would entomb all of the waste that lies underneath Lake Underhill Road probably forever. In this case, you have a private party willing to come forward with a solid plan to address both of these great matters of public interest. This plan would accelerate the county's ability to address solutions for these issues far in advance of what the county would ordinarily be able to accomplish. This is a classic example of the term public-private partnership, using to accomplish matters of public interest, using the tools that are available to local government. I highly recommend this project, and I ask for your approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kilsheimer. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker will be Amy Neighbors. Amy Neighbors. I don't see her.
Ms. Neighbors is not present. Okay, next speaker, please.
Move on to Bray Lindsay. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Bray Lindsay. I live at 10764 Wildlife Place in East Orlando at Fieldstream North. And I've been a homeowner of Fieldstream North for the past 7 years. And also I'm the communications director for the Homeowners Association. And I am a proponent for Fieldstream North Village. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other speakers?
Next speaker will be Vic Lavelle. Please state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Mayor,
Afternoon.
County Commissioners, My name is Vic Lovell. I live at 10764 Wildlife Place in East Orlando. I've enjoyed being elected president of Fieldstream North HOA for the last 7 years. I am a proponent of the Fieldstream Village development, and I'm accompanied by a wonderful group of like-minded homeowners from our subdivision. If you're here from Fieldstream North, you're wearing green shirts, could you please stand up, be recognized? These folks represent the largest, the closest, and the most directly impacted HOA for this project. Thank you. As most of our homeowners have work commitments during the weekday, I would like to respectfully present to the clerk these petitions of over 60 signatures, also proponents of this project. This isn't the first time the good people of the Fieldstream area have been approached with development of the old county dump. We've been solicited with projects that included several solutions, some of which don't even require amendment approval, including trailer parks, junkyards, warehouses, and of course, storage space buildings. This is, however, the only development that has promised complete inclusivity and transparency throughout. During this nearly 3-year journey, I have attended county meetings, virtual public meetings, and board of director presentations for several nearby HOAs. Mr. Testerman is just starting to figure out who I am every time I show up in his office. The fact that myself, my staff, my board of directors, and our members continue to be invited at every turn lends complete credibility to the developer and this project. The good people of Fieldstream North have grown very concerned about the poisons lying resident in the old county dump next door, and this...
Is he out of time?
I believe that was 2 minutes.
That's your cue.
Was that not 2 minutes?
That was your time.
Okay, can I conclude?
If it's really short.
Thank you. We're very concerned about the county's challenges with expanding our stretch of Lake Underhill Road. We've been waiting nearly 2 decades for road improvements, while Disney and other attractions continue to use our area taxes to build high-tech expressways on their private land leading into their destinations. This development project solves both problems, that being the cleanup of the dump and the expansion and modernization of Lake Underhill Road. Further, this developer has solved the problem of where will the money come from.
They're offered out of time.
Yes, I understand. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Sorry, is he support or opposed?
He supports.
Just want to make sure I got that.
All right, next speaker, please.
In the final 3 speaker cards, Richard Kiefer, followed by Angel De La Portilla, Betty Rodriguez.
Who's up next again?
This is all very intimidating.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Betty Rodriguez, and I live at 10807 Wildlife Place in the Fieldstream North subdivision. I support this project. I have lived there for over 20 years, and nothing much has changed in 20 years. The traffic is already a nightmare. I feel like, you know, this is, knowing that this dump is there, that alone is something that really bothers me, because had I known this when I bought my house, I probably wouldn't have been as receptive to purchasing. This is not something that I knew about. I just found out about it, and I feel like we're living there just breathing in these poisons, and to have someone who is willing to invest the money and the time to clean this up, that's our quality of life, and that in and of itself, to me, is worth supporting it. So I hope you consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Next speaker, please.
Either Richard Kiefer or Angel De La Portilla. They're our final 2 speaker cards.
Mr. Richard Kiefer. He's yielding his time. Mr. De La Portilla. Just,
The 103 petition from our community about a traffic light be up. In order for us to approve this project, to be approved. Petition.
all right, thank you. All right, Mr. Della Portilla.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Good to see you again. I'm going to tell you all the story. On the 7th of July of 2017, Jerry Demings.
Name and address.
Pardon?
Your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2 minutes, you know, I got to make it up somehow.
Yeah.
Angel de la Portilla, 121 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida. On the 7th of July of 2017, Jerry Deming stood outside this building and announced his candidacy for Orange County Mayor, and thus began a 13-month conversation with the community that resulted in over 1,000 meetings, ended on the 30th of August of 2018 with the election of our 5th elected countywide mayor. A recurring theme of those 13 months was the need for more public-private partnerships. When Mayor Demings, in the period before he got sworn in, he formed the transition team, and I was a lucky member of the community to serve on the transition team. And one of the recommendations of our transition team was, let's look at the private sector to solve some of the county's problems. And here we are, 3 years later. There's a development. This is an area you've heard from residents define this as a stigma on the community. In the 1960s, it operated as a dump, operated that way for 18 or 20 years or so. And the property has sat there 60 years, has been undeveloped, and it's surrounded by development. And also Lake Underhill Road, one of the key arteries moving traffic east and west for people going to work and going back home. That segment of Lake Underhill Road has not been able to be improved because of the contamination under the road. So here we are, we're a private developer who, by the way, I wanted to disclose, I do work for the developer. I've worked for MMI and Mr. Wright for over 14 years on a number of projects. Mike Wright is somebody that does what he says he's going to do. He did it in Apopka, he did it in Maitland, he's done it everywhere he's gone. He's willing to take the risk and tackle this project and work alongside with the county. We've had 18 months of meetings with Mr. Testerman, Mr. Kunkel, all of your staff. I would ask that you support this transmittal today. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Della Portilla. Next speaker, please.
Mayor, I think we may have one additional speaker card from Daniel Richards. Is Mr. Richards here for this case?
Mr. Richards? Looks like he may have left. Okay.
Absent Mr. Richards, we have no additional speaker cards in this case, Mayor.
There are no other members of the public that wish to be heard on this item. I will go to the applicant. Would you like to offer any rebuttal comments at this time?
Thank you, Mayor Demings. I'll make this very short. The residents out there who we've met with for over 3 years, I can't even count how many of them, it's very clear they want the dump cleaned up. It's very clear they want action on the road. I think they've been frustrated, and some of the things we've said could be termed somewhat unpleasant for the county to have to look at and think about and try to resolve. But that's really past administrations, 20, 30, 40 years ago, but we have the problem today, and it's not going to really go away. And I'm not one of the developers that comes in and says, I want to build my project and ignore the problems of the project or the problems of the area. This gentleman has really a legitimate complaint that one gentleman has stood up and opposed us or questioned the validity of the project. He's talking about really mostly the traffic. We have a solution for the traffic. We're willing to work hand in hand with the county to solve this traffic problem, and I think that'll be a better day once it is. And then also the clean up the dump. We have a good solid plan. We've done a lot of financial modeling on how that's going to be addressed. So I think the concerns that any resident would have to oppose it, traffic in the dump, we want to address that. We want to be given the opportunity to address it. And the next step to that, on that path, is to get a vote of transmittal up to the Department of Community Economic Opportunity in Tallahassee. So thank you all very much.
All right, thank you for your comments. I will close the public hearing at this time, and we'll go to the district commissioner. I know Commissioner Gomez-Cordero, you work with various constituents there, so we will go to you. We do have some comments from other members of the board, but we'll start with you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I have to say thank you to all the residents that have been here today. Thank you so much. I have been in several meetings with the developers, the residents, community meetings, the HOAs, and so on, and I understand the benefit of this project, that the old landfill on the property that is threatening areas' groundwater will be cleaned up by this proposal. It will also clean up the waste material on the lake Underhill and allow the road to be reconstructed by the applicant as 4 lanes. This is like Ms. Betty said, that if she had known, that there was a landfill there, she maybe would not buy her house. Also, like Mr. Big said, and Diane Rambo, that the residents have been waiting 26 years for the improvement of Lake Underhill. And also, I want to say, direct myself to Mr. Jose Marcano, his concerns about the traffic lights and several other concerns have the same concerns. That's one of the alternatives if this proposal and these projects go on. So as a result, the requested development proposal is substantially 1,500 multifamilies, 100,000 square foot of commercial. This is a big project, and we all know that. To try to fit in this location, I do not support including a private school in the plans. I don't know that I will support it eventually, adoption, but I am okay with transmitting it for state review so that any opportunities to mitigate its impact can be better understood. So I will motion to approve the request action to transmit amendments 2021-2841 and 2021-2B FLUE 1.
Second, Siplin.
We have a motion and a second. We do have other comments. Commissioner Bonilla.
Yeah, I would like to ask that we ask for additional workforce housing or affordable housing. I know when we have big projects like this is a great opportunity to perhaps even use some of the funding that we have to subsidize some units for affordable housing. It's already going to be built, so it's a great, public-private partnership to our affordable housing crisis. And that's something I would like for our staff to look into.
Very good, Commissioner. Actually, one of the slides that was presented by Mr. Mike was the 75 units that are going to be
think we need to do
dedicated
more,
to that.
Yeah. Because I'm having developers offer, like for projects in my district, 10%. I'm asking for 20 and seeing where we can negotiate in between. And they're actually paying for it all. So I'm looking for, if the county staff, well, I think we should be asking for minimum 10%, not just 75. And if we could do more by subsidizing with the funding that we have for affordable housing, I think that would be great. Because we really need multi-income housing. We don't want all of our affordable housing just grouped together. We want to make sure that it's diverse and mixed income, I meant. So.
Yeah, certainly we can support having further staff conversations. We won't be able to resolve those kinds of details here today, but we understand the concern there. Commissioner Uribe.
Thanks, Mayor. I actually just had a question. I know we're just doing transmittal, Commissioner. My question was about the transportation, just because of the amount of activity and traffic that's on Lake Underhill. So I know this will be back to us, and it would be nice to see if the study actually supports, because that's such a major thorough road. We know it's a bottleneck from my district all the way through. I just want to make sure that we are using the most optimal opportunities for transportation there.
Commissioner, that's part of the discussions.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Moore.
I just wanted to add,
which really wasn't brought up today, but I'm very familiar with what MMI did up in Apopka. And I can say since then we have a very upscale private school. It's provided access to the hospital, and it's been a very positive development in an area that hadn't had much investment. And so I could speak positively to their previous project in this county.
Okay. There is a motion and a second on the floor. There's no further question or discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes, and it is unanimous. Thank you all for your presence today, and we're going to move forward on our agenda at this time. We'll move